everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Education to Home. I'm Adira Pratap.
I'm Shaji Paul.
In today's episode, we are going to discuss some topics which will help the students of grades 6, 7 and 8 to score better in their English test. First, we are going to discuss how to attempt the reading comprehension questions.
Miss Adira, can you share with us the steps in attempting reading comprehension questions?
Yes, sir. Reading comprehension questions are usually seen with a lot of anxiety by students because the passage and the accompanying questions are totally unfamiliar to the students. But we can easily crack it and score good marks with certain strategies.
Could you brief on those strategies?
The first thing that they have to do is they have to read the questions first. When they read the questions first, they have an idea what to look for in the passage. Reading the passage once is not enough. They must read at least 2 to 3 times. So they need not read the entire passage that many times. When they read for the first time, they have an idea which are the important parts. Those parts they have to read 2 to 3 times.
What do they have to do next?
After going through the questions, they have to first attempt the easy questions. They can skip the time-consuming questions and attempt them later. Next, they can make note of the action words or verbs in a sentence. And another helpful strategy is to make use of context clues.
What do you mean by context clues?
So, context clues are hints or tips that we find around those unfamiliar words. Another thing that they can do is they can find the main idea in each paragraph. For example, if in a passage there are 5 paragraphs, that means there are 5 main ideas in that passage.
Where in a paragraph do we find the main ideas?
In a paragraph, we find the main ideas usually in the first or the last sentence. There are going to be literal questions, which means questions which start with WH, like who, what, when, where and how, and there are going to be inference questions.
Can you talk about the different types of questions asked in reading comprehension?
Yes, sir. There are going to be 2 types of questions. First one is literal questions, which starts with WH type of questions like who, what, when, where and how. And the next type of questions are inferential questions.
How do we tackle such kind of questions?
Inferential questions require the students to think, search for the answer and then solve the answer. The answers will be linked to different paragraphs in the passage.
Finally, I would like to ask you to share some crucial points to remember.
Yes, the first point that they must remember is all the information required to score full marks in reading comprehension is right in front of you. You just have to read it carefully, understand it and solve the questions. Second point that I would like to remind you is to read the instructions carefully. The third and the final point is not to make unnecessary connections. For example, if the passage is about mobile phones and you link that to the information that you already know about mobile phones, it can be quite misleading. Stick to the information given in the passage.
A very important part of the exam at this stage is grammar, and as you all know, it is a very vast area. It includes many things like kinds of sentences, order of adjectives, conjunctions, tenses, active and passive voice, direct and indirect speech, etc.
Can you give a brief detail of what they should understand in kinds of sentences?
Under this section, kinds of sentences, they should know the different types of sentences, especially those based on the structure of sentences. They are the simple, compound, complex, and compound complex sentences. Besides knowing what each type is, they should also be able to change each one into one or the other categories.
That sounds great. Well, what about the order of adjectives?
Adjectives are, words that are used to describe a noun. When you use a number of adjectives in a sentence, they should follow certain order, or else they would sound clumsy or awkward. Remember in this connection that determiners always come first. This is followed by the quantity, opinion, size, age, shape, color, origin, material, and purpose.
Sir, can you tell us what they should know about conjunctions?
Children at this age should be able to differentiate between subordinating and coordinating conjunctions and use them effectively as required. In order to keep this in memory, they can use mnemonics like fanboys and on a white bus to represent coordinating and subordinating conjunctions respectively.
So what about tenses and verb forms?
At this stage, they are supposed to be quite familiar with different tense forms and to use it where and when. It also demands them to be getting familiarized with the different tense forms like finite as well as non-finite forms and differentiate them as and when required.
Is there anything else that they should be familiar with in the grammatical area?
Yes, of course. At this age, they should actually be able to use sentences actively and passively suitably to serve the purpose. It means that they should actually be able to use sentences either in the passive voice or in the active voice. It means that they should be able to change one sentence from active voice to passive voice and vice versa. In addition to this, they are required to be proficient in using direct and indirect speech correctly. If so, we can say that they are well prepared at this stage with the grammatical aspects. They should pay attention to answer all the questions. Leaving out a question leaves out the possibility of scoring a mark. Even if they feel that the answer is not correct or they are unsure about the answer, they should attempt it because there is a possibility that the answer that they write might be right. Moreover, answering the questions that they know first can be a time-saving one for them. Above all, they should also answer the questions giving proper weightage to the mark allocated so that they write to the required length. I think that gives a good deal of information as to what they should keep in mind while answering an examination at this stage.
That's all from our side.
Thank you.